First, you'll need to locate a spot for your garden, preferably somewhere flat that receives at least 6 hours of sunlight per day. You will need to clear the area if you want your garden to be level. Take your time and do this properly, because it gives you a nice level base to start from. To make your raised garden bed, you'll need 6 2.4 metre timber sleepers. You'll also need a level, a measuring tape, a pencil for marking, a fencing picket cut into 4 equal pieces, a hammer, a saw, a drill, a screwdriver, a shovel, a pick and a grinder if you have one. You'll need galvanised timber screws for this project. We used 50, 100 and 200 millimetre screws. You could use nails, but timber screws are a better choice for long-term strength and durability. It's best to use galvanised timber screws for an outdoor application like a raised garden bed because they tend not to rust and therefore will last longer. Just a quick tip. Buy the bigger packs of screws because they're better value for money and you'll have some left over for future projects. To start off with, cut 2 of the sleepers in half. This gives you 4 1.2 metre lengths of timber for the ends of the garden and leaves you with 4 whole sleepers for the sides of the garden. Place the 2 end pieces and the 2 side pieces of timber together in a rectangular shape and then screw them together using the 100mm timber screws. Make sure you drill pilot holes because they prevent the timber from splitting and it makes it much easier to guide the screw to where it's needed. To prevent movement, cut a metal fence paling into 4 pieces and cut each piece to a point at one end. Then stake them into the ground, one at each corner. We used an orbital grinder to cut the fence paling, but if you don't have one or know how to use one, then get somebody else to do this for you. Attach the stakes to the garden using 50mm screws. First, make sure the garden is level. If you wanted to, you could stop at this stage because the garden is perfectly functional as it is. Or you can make the garden deeper by adding a second layer of timber. To make the second layer, just repeat what you did for the first layer. Use 200mm screws to screw down through the top layer into the bottom layer to screw the 2 together. Once again, make sure you drill pilot holes because they prevent the timber from splitting and it makes it much easier to guide the screw to where it's needed. Okay, so there we have it, a raised garden bed. Fill it with soil and plant some seeds. Keep watching because you're about to learn how to add a functional sill around the top of the garden. The sill adds strength to the garden but also functions as a handy seat. To make the sill, we used 2 4-metre lengths of 140 by 50 timber. Cut both lengths of timber at the 2.4 metre mark. This will give you 2 shorter pieces for the ends of the garden and 2 longer pieces for the sides of the garden. Once the timber is in place, mark centres and then fasten the sill to the top of the garden bed with 100mm screws. Don't forget to drill pilot holes first. We used 4 200mm screws to strengthen each corner of the sill. This is not entirely necessary, but to give the garden a little bit more style, we added a few more custom features. Cut 8 40cm lengths of decking timber and screwed 2 of these to each corner of the garden bed with 50mm timber screws. Once again, by drilling pilot holes, you'll make the job a whole lot easier. Just repeat this on the other 3 corners and then you're nearly finished. Lining the garden with plastic weed mat can help prevent the soil from creeping out between the sleepers. If you've used any sort of treated timber, the plastic is a good barrier to have between the timber and your soil. Before you go and get your soil, keep in mind that you'll need to work out the volume of your garden. So this particular garden was 1.2 by 2.4 metres by 40 centimetres deep, which works out at just under 1.2 cubic metres. This is a quick tip to help save you money. Don't buy expensive premium garden soil and don't buy bagged material either. Instead, buy the cheaper soil, usually called topsoil, in bulk from the nursery, and then amend the soil with things like rich compost, manure, earthworms, and other organic material like peat moss, rock dust and coir, and then mulch over the top with straw.